You saved $4,000 on gas last year by switching to an electric vehicle, but nobody warned you about the hidden costs that could eat up those savings and more. Electric vehicles come with 8 major issues that dealers and manufacturers do not want you thinking about before you sign that financing agreement. Welcome to Built-in Boost, where we break down the hype, cut through the marketing, and give you the real story behind the badge. Some of these problems can cost thousands of dollars, while others will leave you stranded with a dead battery and no charging station in sight. Number 6 will shock you because most people discover it only after buying their EV. Hit the like button if you want to know the real truth about electric vehicle ownership before making an expensive mistake. Let us dive into what nobody talks about. Number 1. White smoke from exhaust. White smoke coming from your exhaust pipe is not steam from cold weather. It is coolant burning inside your engine cylinders, and this problem will be within months if you keep driving with it immediately. When you see thick white smoke that smells sweet, your engine has a blown gasket, cracked cylinder head, or damaged engine block that allows coolant to leak into the combustion chamber. This coolant burns along with your fuel. White smoke you see behind your car. Coolant inside your engine cylinders causes serious damage fast. It does not compress like air and fuel do, which can crack pistons, bend connecting rods, or completely seize your engine. Even small amounts of coolant contamination will wash oil off cylinder walls and cause metal-on-metal contact that destroys engine bearings. Most drivers ignore white smoke because it runs and drives normally at first. The engine temperature might stay normal on the gauge, so they assume everything is. This is the biggest mistake you can make because internal engine damage happens once coolant starts entering the combustion process. Head gasket repair costs $2,000 to $3,500 on most vehicles. Being too long turns this into complete engine replacement for $6,000 to $10,000. Cracked cylinder heads cost $3,000 to $5,000. Number 2. Metal particles in oil. Things or particles in your engine oil means internal engine components are grinding against each other and wearing away. This is one of the most serious warning signs your car can give you, and continuing to drive will cause complete engine failure in weeks. Metal particles in oil usually come from worn engine bearings, pistons, or cylinder wall scoring that happens when lubrication breaks down. The metal flakes system and act like sandpaper on every moving part inside your engine. Check your oil regularly by pulling dipstick and looking for metallic sparkles or actual metal chunks floating in the oil. Normal oil should be smooth and free of any solid particles. If you see glittery specks or feel gritty texture well between your engine is destroying it from the inside. Engine bearing failure is the most common cause of metal. Bearings support your crankshaft and connecting rods, and when they wear out, metal starts flaking off into the oil. Once this process begins, it accelerates quickly because the metal particles damage rings and create more contamination. Most people discover metal in their oil during routine changes and assume they can keep driving if they oil more frequently. This approach guarantees engine destruction because the root cause of the contamination continues getting worse every mile you drive. Professional engine diagnosis costs $200 to $400, but engine rebuilding or replacement runs $8,000 to $15,000 depending on your vehicle. The time discovering metal particles. Number 3. Overheating again and again. Overheating episodes will warp your cylinder heads, blow your head gaskets, and crack your engine permanently. Most drivers think overheating is just an image by adding coolant and driving more carefully, but multiple overheating events guarantee expensive engine damage. Very precise temperature tolerances, and exceeding normal operating temperature even briefly causes metal components to expand beyond their designs. Aluminum cylinder heads are especially vulnerable to warping 240 degrees Fahrenheit. The first time your engine overheats, you might get lucky with minimal damage if you stop immediately and cool down completely. But third, overheating episodes cause cumulative damage that becomes increasingly expensive properly. Head gasket failure is almost guaranteed after repeated overheating. Gasket material cannot handle the extreme heat cycles and pressure changes. Head gaskets allow coolant and oil to mix together, a key substance that destroys engine lubrication and leads to bearing failure. Cylinder head war result of multiple overheating events, or create uneven sealing surfaces that leak coolant and compression, expensive machining or complete replacement to fix. Most overheating problems start small with water pump problems or cooling system leaks that cost $200 to $600 to repair initially. Ignoring these root causes, heating your engine turns minor repairs into $4,000 to $800 head gasket jobs or complete engine. Number 4. Transmission slipping. When your transmission starts slipping between gears, hesitating during acceleration, driving high without moving forward properly, you have 60 to 90 days before complete transmission failure leaves you stranded with a repair bill that exceeds your car's value. Slipping happens when internal clutches, bands, or torque converter components wear out and can no longer transfer power effectively from your engine to the wheels of your engine, revving without corresponding acceleration, especially when pulling away from stops or climbing hills. Early slipping usually occurs during specific situations like cold start or when the transmission is under load. Most drivers adapt their driving habits to work around these problems, addressing the root cause, which accelerates the damage significantly. Transmission components operate under extreme pressure and precise tolerance. Once slipping begins, the friction materials continue degrading rapidly because they cannot handle the heat and sleet engagement. Burnt transmission fluid with a dark color and burnt smell confirms this internal damage. Manual transmissions show slipping through problems that cause engine RPM to climb without corresponding speed increases. Automatic transmissions slip between gear changes or fail to engage certain gears completely under load. Transmission rebuild costs $3,000 to $5,000 on most vehicles, while replacement with a remanufactured $4,000 to $7,000 including labor. These repairs often exceed the value of old. Number 5. Insurance premium spikes. Your auto insurance bill jumps $300 to $800 annually when you switch from a gas car to an electric vehicle, and most buyers discover this unpleasant surprise after purchase. Insurance companies charge higher premiums for EVs because repair costs are significantly more expensive than traditional vehicles. A minor fender bender that costs $2,000 to fix on a Honda Civic can easily reach $5,000 on a Tesla Model 3 due to specialized parts and limited repair facilities. EV batteries are expensive to replace and difficult to assess for damage after accidents. Insurance adjusters often total EVs with battery damage because replacement costs exceed the vehicle's value. Theft rates for certain EV models are higher because criminals target valuable battery packs and charging cables. Some insurance companies refuse to cover specific EV models or require higher deductibles. Finding insurance can be challenging because not all companies offer EV coverage or understand electric vehicle technology. Progressive, State Farm, and GEICO provide competitive EV rates, but smaller regional insurers often decline coverage entirely. Some insurers offer 5% to 15% discounts for EVs due to their safety features, but these savings rarely offset the higher base premiums. Comprehensive coverage becomes more important because charging cables cost $200 to $500 to replace and are frequently stolen from public charging stations. Gap insurance is essential since EVs depreciate faster than traditional vehicles, leaving owners underwater on loans after accidents. Number 6. Repair shop shortages. Your EV breaks down and you discover that 80% of repair shops in your area cannot or will not work on electric vehicles. Finding qualified EV technicians feels impossible because most mechanics lack the specialized training and equipment needed for high-voltage systems. Traditional auto shops avoid EVs due to liability concerns and expensive certification requirements that cost $10,000 to $25,000 per technician. Dealership service departments are your main option, but appointment wait times stretch 2 to 4 weeks for routine maintenance and 6 to 8 weeks for major repairs. Independent EV specialists exist in major cities but charge premium rates because they have no competition. Small towns and rural areas have zero EV certified mechanics, forcing owners to tow their vehicles 100 plus miles to the nearest qualified shop. Simple repairs become complicated because EVs require special safety protocols and diagnostic equipment. Brake pad replacement that takes 2 hours on a gas car needs 4 to 6 hours on an EV due to regenerative braking system integration. Software updates and battery diagnostics require manufacturer-specific tools that most shops cannot afford. Parts availability creates additional delays because many EV components are backordered for 3 to 6 months. Tesla owners wait longest for parts because the company prioritizes new vehicle production over service parts inventory. Third-party parts markets barely exist for most EV models, leaving owners dependent on expensive OEM components. Number 7. Resale value uncertainty. Your brand new EV loses 20% to 30% of its value within the first year, compared to 15% to 20% for gas vehicles. Electric vehicle resale values fluctuate wildly because the technology changes so rapidly that last year's model feels obsolete. A 2021 Tesla Model S that sold for $90,000 new is worth only $45,000 today due to price cuts and newer model releases with better range and features. Battery degradation scares used car buyers because replacing a worn battery can cost more than the vehicle is worth. Most buyers avoid EVs with 80% or less battery capacity, severely limiting your resale market. Older EVs with 150-mile range become nearly worthless when new models offer 300-plus miles for similar prices. Federal tax credits only apply to new vehicle purchases, making used EVs less attractive to budget-conscious buyers. Lease returns flood the market with 2 to 3-year-old EVs that compete directly with private sellers. Rapid charging technology improvements make older EVs with slower charging speeds hard to sell. Regional differences create pricing nightmares because EVs sell better in California and coastal areas than in rural markets. Cold weather states see lower resale values due to range anxiety and winter performance concerns. Some EV models have such poor resale values that leasing becomes the only financially sensible option, but lease deals often have mileage restrictions that do not work for high mileage drivers. Number 8. Apartment living challenges. Your dream of owning an EV turns into a nightmare when you realize that 65% of Americans live in apartments, condos, or homes without dedicated parking spaces. Charging an electric vehicle without a garage or assigned parking spot creates daily stress that gas car owners never experience. Public charging becomes your lifeline, but finding available stations near your apartment complex often requires driving 5 to 10 miles out of your way. Overnight charging at apartment complexes is nearly impossible because most properties have standard 110-volt outlets that add only 3 to 5 miles of range per hour. Convincing landlords to install level 2 charging stations faces resistance due to installation costs, electrical upgrades, and liability concerns. Even when charging stations exist, they are often occupied by residents who leave their cars plugged in for days. Street parking makes EV ownership impractical because running extension cords across sidewalks violates city codes and creates safety hazards. Workplace charging helps, but limits your flexibility for lunch trips and personal errands. Some apartment dwellers spend 2 to 3 hours weekly at charging stations instead of the 5 minutes it takes to fill a gas tank. Urban areas with limited parking see residents fighting over charging spots, creating neighbor disputes and property management headaches. Moving to a new apartment requires researching charging infrastructure, limiting your housing options, and potentially increasing rent costs. These 8 hidden EV issues cost thousands of dollars and create headaches that nobody mentions during the sales process. Cold weather cuts your range in half, battery replacements can exceed your car's value, and finding reliable charging feels like a gamble. Insurance premiums spike, repair shops are scarce, and resale values drop faster than traditional vehicles. Apartment dwellers face the biggest challenges with limited charging options that make EV ownership nearly impossible. Electric vehicles work great for some, but understanding these problems before buying saves you from expensive surprises. Hit that like button if this video saved you from making a costly mistake. Subscribe for more honest car advice that dealers do not want you to know, and comment below with your own EV horror stories or questions.